Hello everybody, so today we're going to be finishing some slab cups today. I have started these quite a few days ago. These were done, I think I started these cups like a month ago. Ooh, my goodness, let's see how they look. So, these cups have been stored, there goes one. These cups have been stored for a very long time in on a bat that I have wet. That now you can still see that they're still pretty squishy. So I'm going to attach some handles on these guys today. These guys have been in storage for quite a while. So let's put some handles on. Oh, that one goes into cycling. Let's see here. So we're going to clean this guy off. That mold is because they've been sitting around for such a long time. They were really sitting around. So here's my cup. You can see it there. I'm going to use my cup rounders here to help round them up. It is Thanksgiving here, so I thought I'd take some time into the studio today and work on these guys, finish these guys up. So here we go. We are there we go. So now we're going to do the rim here a little bit. Round these rims off. All right, making these try to look good. If you guys have any questions about what I'm up to, feel free just to chime in and ask away. I think I can see them in the chat. Let's see here. Can't really see the chat. Let me switch over here to the dashboard. There we go. Yay. All right, so there. So here we go. Just cleaning up some rims here on these guys. Trying to make them look good. So I have this special kind of what I call like a little rounder thing. Now you put the rim of the cup right in there and I can round these rims off pretty quickly, pretty easily, right, to create a nice rounded rim. Then I'll look and check out any, use a soft brush and brush out any of this debris in there. There. Brush out some of that debris. Hey, so there. So there, I'll round it one more time. I'm gonna look all the way around to make sure there isn't any blemishes on here. I'll look at the bottom. These all look pretty good. So now we'll attach some handles. So I have this special guy here, which I'll use, and I'll throw this guy on there. Time to get out some handles. Alright, so I have these handles. These handles I made quite a while ago, but I keep them in the box. They stay wet. I'm going to get a couple out because we're going to finish a couple cups today. So we'll get a bunch. So these guys are just a little bit dry. Let me get that one that fell on the ground. Yeah, that one should be still usable. Ooh. Alright, here we go. Oh. Alright, so here we go. Which tool are you asking about? Oh, the rim rounder. Okay, so Julianne has a question. This is a rim rounder. So what I do is I take the piece of clay and I center it, and I just throw a narrow cylinder thing here on the wheel, and then I bisque fire it and I trim it. And so this is actually just a piece of bisque ware, right? So anytime I clay gets unround, I just pop it in there like that and push it to help make sure it's round, right? And so these are hand-built mugs, so I'm always rounding these guys off like that. Oh, and when I do this, I make sure that I'm pushing inward against the pot. I'm not pushing this guy down because that will lend this guy to splitting the top here. All right, so we'll put, hope that answered your question. If it didn't, you can ask another one. You can re-ask. All right, so now we'll put on a handle. Let's see here. So this is the way, if you have any questions about this guy, this is just a rolling pin. And then I use my old rolling pin that I didn't use, I wasn't using anymore. And then I use my laser cutter to kind of make this little box to hold it all in together. And then that way I can use it like that and it'll hold my cups up like that. And I'm able to work like that. Here we'll cut this like this. So I want these handles that come up and over like that. So when I cut these bad boys, let's bring this camera down here for you guys a little bit. So when I cut this guy, I want this handle to be coming up and out like that a little bit. Oop, maybe if that would stop shaking. Come up and out like that. And then that way, if I make the cut, then here, right, like that, then that will be the angle. So the cup handle will be coming out of the cup at the right angle. So it looks good. All right, so I'll make the cut like this. I support it here like that, and I'll push this down. And I just rock it back and forth just to make it work. There we go. So there, so now I have the right cut, but then I'm also gonna push this. I'll just use this ring. Oh, I'll use this one. So then I'll push this part of the handle down there against there around this. This is a smaller rim rounder thing that I have. It's much smaller. Right, you see that? I use this one for smaller cups. There we go, like that. So now it has that shape that I want, and I'll plug right in there. So now I have to think, I have to really take a good look at the cup and think about how I want and where I want the cup and the handle to interface. Like usually it's right about there. Let me push that down a little bit just so it's on there good. There we go. Then I can take let's see, I usually have a needle tool. Take this guy out. This is these Michael Sherrill tools. They're kind of fun. Just gonna quickly draw around that thing right there. That just shows me where I need to score. I'll use this guy to score that surface up. I'm looking for my slip jar. It's been a while since I've done any work in here, so my slip jar might be missing. Huh. Let's see here. That's good. There we go. So now I'm going to score this side too. Okay. So today I'm just finishing up some cups. Oh, so I have a question about the texture. So I make my own textured boards here like this. So let's see here if I can find the one that's for this one. So this cup here uses this texture board here. So this is a laser cut board. I make these designs on my laser cutter. So I digitally make a design and then I use this board and then I stamp this cup. I stamp that texture onto here. This stamp is for a larger cup that's a little bit taller. So let's see if I can find the correct stamp for this guy here. Where are you? Lots of different designs here. They all kind of get mixed up. So this one here. So this is the stamp for this cup here. You can see both on screen at the same time. So, right? So this is a smaller cup, and then I have a bigger cup that uses the same size stamp. So this is the bigger stamp here, which makes a slightly taller cup. It's hard to show on camera all at the same time. All right, so I got that guy textured. And then, yeah, and if you have any more questions, just keep asking. So I make those textures myself using a laser cutter and my computer. Pretty fun. I'm really addicted to making these cups. Not really much of a hand builder until I decided to start doing this, right? Till I really got into the laser cutter. I really got into making these textures. So there. So now I want to check out, make sure this cup is looking good. So we'll back you guys away a little bit so I can get my head in there. See what's going on. So these cups were started pretty long time ago, like I think more than a month ago, and I've just kept them wet since then. Oh, so now I'm getting ready to cut the handle, right? And I kind of want the handle just to kind of loop in here, just to kind of get attached like right there. So I am going to just try to make this cut going straight this way, so the handle will kind of come right in. I'm going to cut it a little bit long at first because I like cutting it long because it gives me a chance to kind of see what I want to do. Right there, we'll make that cut, pull that off. So it definitely is, well, let's take a look at this. So when I'm looking at this cup, right, I'm thinking about how my hand's going to fit in there, right? That's a lot of space there. And as your handle loops farther away, your hand gets farther away, the torque gets a lot higher with the amount of stuff when it's full. So it feels heavier. So I'm going to try to cut some more of this off. And as I go, let's cut a little bit more off. And if you have any more questions or want to talk about anything, put those comments in the chat. Love to hear from you guys. Oh yeah, great. Someone says they're planning on doing some stuff in the studio tomorrow. They're excited. Good. Woohoo! We love making these things and working this. We have my students, I make them all their own stamps as well. So, okay, so that's looking okay. I think I still need to take some off. It's really loopy, pretty tall, pretty far out. So I'll just cut off just a little bit more. It's been a while since I made a cup. It's been at least a couple months. So these cups have been sitting around since then. And I just felt super guilty about not getting around to finishing them. There we go. Oop, that came open. We'll push that back down. Oh yeah, there we go. So that's looking pretty good. Down around, and then I come back through with this guy here, and I'm going to push it back in from behind it from here. Wet this down just a little bit, and then push this back up. And just to create that, and I'll add some water to the back of that and smoosh that in. Make sure it's right below. There we go. Oh, I haven't really worked out a way to sell my stamps. Thank you for asking. They're really kind of hard to make, and they take a while on my side, and I just don't see how I can make it affordable for someone to buy. Right? It's a kind of an issue, right? Like that's the issue with trying to sell the stamps. Like I get it, but I think I would need the machine, the way how I make them is not very fast. So probably this stamp here takes almost an hour to make, right? And then, so that's an hour that I'm sitting here in the studio, right? And the machine's pretty expensive. So, but I am thinking about it, right? Trying to figure out that way. But right now we're just using it. And I teach this as a class thing. So where I show my students how to, because we bought one of these machines. It's called a Glowforge. It's a laser cutter. We bought one at the ceramic studio where I work, or at the school where I work, and then the printmaking students are using it, and then I have my students also trying to use it and trying to create designs with it. So I'm cleaning off my margins here around where the handle is, trying to make it look beautiful and happy. like it's ultimately awesome. Handle's starting to pull off. This handle's the first handle I've attached in like a month, so I haven't done this in a while, so first one always goes a little bit dicey. It's kind of weird that I turned the camera on before I even made one. All right, for today. So I find that having this rolling pin thing and working with it on here really helps because it allows me to push against here without denting the cup in. So I'm able to push in there without the cup collapsing. I need to clean off part of this. Let's just use this guy. So there's a little strip of paper that got attached to right there. Scrape that off as gently as I can. Move that away. So now this is some mold and stuff here from when I was, because these handles have been in storage for quite a while. So I'm going to clean that up. There's a little dot there. All right, so we're almost ready to call this one good. I am just going to do a mopping around here. I didn't really clean up the rim very well. So I should make sure that gets cleaned up. Want that to look good. There, come back through here. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask. So if you guys don't know me, my name's John. I teach ceramics at Mount Hood Community College, which is in Gresham, Oregon, which is just outside of Portland, Oregon. And we have lots of awesome things going on, including we have 2 wood kilns. One of the kilns we salt at the end, so it's a wood salt kiln. It's really beautiful and awesome. And I've been teaching ceramics full-time teaching since 2000. This is my 15th year of full-time, no, 17th year of full-time ceramics teaching. So I've been around the block. Been fun. And then during COVID was a big challenge for us, right? And I put my chop on. Woo, that one's done. We'll put that one way over here, and we'll start another one. All right. Oh, so here it's the same one. Here is the same type of cup except bigger, right? So this one here is what we call the small, is my smaller one, and then this one is bigger. So the bigger one ends up being about 16 ounces. This one ends up being about 12-ish, depending on how full you want to. How did I design my maker's mark? So my mark is just a little chop. It's a design that I had. Let's bring that up super close. Ooh, Phil, focus. So that's a little chop, and that's like a very cursive version of Hase, which is my last name is Hasegawa. And so I had this design for me while we were in Japan. I said to we said to the guy, hey, I want a chop. So we had this calligraphy artist design that for me. And then just like how I make these, right, I use my laser cutter to make this. So this is just a little block of wood. This is just a little block of wood that I use. And it's pretty fun. And that's another thing we do with my ceramic students is they each design their own chop as well. It's lots of fun. Yeah, thank you very much, Lily. That's great. I'm glad you enjoy. So this one's the bigger one, and then we just go through the process again, right? So I start always by looking on the inside, checking it out, see if I messed it up. But my goal is when I make these cups is not to have messed up the inside at all, right? I want the inside to always look really good. So you can see that because it's really hard to get in there and clean that up. So, but the inside looks pretty good. So then I'll do the rim. So right here, we'll do the rim. Oh. Oh, great. So, and I use this little rounder tool. So this is also something I made on the laser cutter. It has just different diameter roundnesses things. And this is what I use on my rim here. So here, we'll make this guy here. So you can see actually there's mold here because these cups have been in storage for so long. I think I started these 2 months ago, and I've just kept them wrapped up and wet, and which seems incredibly long, and it felt really weird just coming in here, but I've been so busy teaching and doing all this work at school. It's been absolutely crazy. And Carolyn, thank you for saying that you like my videos. I'm glad that you like them. So here we go. So that's just pretty round. You see how fast that goes, and then you see how easily and nice a roundness that makes that very quickly. It's very fun. And I'll come back and mop that up with my sponge. So I'm just finishing these guys up, and then we'll come back around to the rounder. So it's not quite round, but emergency, I have this guy, right, to pop in there, and this is my rounder, right? And then what I do here is I just push back here against this, and this will help keep this guy round. And there are lots of people that have different versions of these, right? Some are just cones, some are kind of more acorn shape, but this is the one that I like a lot. I like this shape that kind of hourglasses down a little bit, right? I don't know why I like it better. It's just, I think it's probably because that was the way I learned. All right, so now you see that's much rounder. Now we'll work on the bottom. We'll clean off that, even though that moldy stuff on the bottom is not going to really affect anything, it kind of can hide defects, right? So you may have something that's going on there that is like a seam that's opening up or something, and the mold, that all that musty moldiness can hide it. Like right here, there's a little itty bitty blemish right there that I should take care of before. Do I have a favorite sponge? You know, Lily, I do not have a favorite sponge. I just take whatever. So this is like one of those big, huge car washing sponges that you get, you know, and then I just cut off a section. And for me, it's more like, what sponge haven't I lost lately? So so this is kind of an equivalent of the sponge, like the round sponges that we use a lot for throwing. So it's usually whatever sponge I can find first. And I do love the elephant ear sponges and the Michael Sherrill mud tool sponges and those, but you know, it's just whatever I can find first, and that's a sponge I use. I have not really a huge preference on a sponge. I've never been that way. There's certain other tools that I really love that I can't do without, kind of, but a sponge is not one of those. But lots of people do have your specialty tool that you love, right? So right now there was some of the scraps that got on the inside here. And so I'm going to try to knock out some of those trimming scraps from the rim. Just try to make sure they're loose. Make sure they fall out. All right, so mostly out. They're loose though, so they'll come out later. All right, so now it's time to put on handle. So put this guy on there. And then this guy's going to require a longer handle, so luckily I have a longer one out already. Whoa, this one's a little bit stiff. So this guy is a little bit stiff. I made this quite a while ago. So this one is a little bit too stiff, so I'm just going to dunk it in the water. Bloop, 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 in the water, and it's going to set aside for a minute. I'll use that in the next one. This one's a little stiff too. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Putting that in the water. Bloop, 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 bloop. And that one's going to sit over here for a minute or two. Luckily, I got a whole cadre of handles that I made earlier. Let's see if I can find one that's a little bit wetter. That one's okay. That one will work. So some of these handles are really old too. So this is back from the summer. I extruded a billion of these because I don't like cleaning up the extruder. And for some reason, for these hand-built cups, these extruded handles, I absolutely love them on here. I think they look really good. So even though anyway, so I just love these extruded handles. Oh, so the clay I'm using is like a B mix. So if you don't know what a B mix is a clay that is has lots of ball clay in it. So what does that mean? That means it's very flexible. So it's the same clay that I have my students use at school. And so it is when you oh, sorry, when you have it out and you're squeezing it, it's just really plastic. It really loves to make, like, loves to make different shapes and stuff. So this one, I feel like I may have not did it quite right. Now I need a little bit more angle on that. So this is like a B mix clay. So it's actually a clay called Christie Lombard that's from Georgie's. That's a lot like B mix. It's Georgie's Clay is my local clay company here in Portland. And it's a lot like B mix. So it's actually, and I love it a lot. So right now I'm just kind of eyeballing it, making sure that I'm not way off on my idea. That's looking pretty good. So we'll show you another way. So last time when I attached this handle, I traced around it, right? So I took my needle tool and I traced around this area here all the way around, and that showed me where I had in the score. This time what we're going to do is something that I like doing as well, is I have my water, I'm going to bloop, bloop, bloop that handle in there. And then this time I'm just going to take this wet surface here and push it against the side here just for a second. Push. There, like that. And then I'll peel it off for a second, and then you should be able to see the wet spot there, right where the handle needs to attach. So you can see that wet outline right there where you want to attach it, and then you can score in that area. I didn't do such a good job, so I'm going to do that one more time, because I think that this side really, so what happened was, why that didn't work out so well is that this part is too flat. This part is sloping down around. So I need to take this end of this handle and kind of smush it up against something round like that. Kind of get it more round. You see that now? You see that? So I smushed it up against there. Now this technique should work a little better. So here, now we'll try it. Boop. That should work a little better. We'll see. We should see an imprint now. Better. Oh, so much better. So if you can see there, you can see the imprint of the handle. It's not focusing right there. So you can see that's the area that I need to score now. So we'll score that. We'll score that in right now. So thank you everyone for joining me. It's Thanksgiving here. I don't know where everybody else is. Here in the States, it is Thanksgiving. I don't know where people are from. Where are you guys from? Are you guys from here? Are you guys taking Thanksgiving off? I thought I would just turn on the streaming service and we'll start streaming to everyone, since I was working in a studio anyways. So then I scored that surface, I have lost my clay slip. Is that this one? I don't think so. Nope, that's my, huh. That's funny. I've lost my clay slip stuff. So we're just gonna have to make some here. Let's see here. Where's my slip bottle? Use that. I used to have some slip here. We're just gonna make some right here. So I'm just going to make a quick slip pile here. Very strange that I'm doing it on my table right in front of me. But only a little bit for this whole process, right? That's good enough. We'll add some of that goopiness onto there. And we'll push it onto there. Oh, Carolyn, you're in Ohio. You know, I haven't been to NCECA since, golly, when was the last time I went? I've been to about 11 NCECAs and I love it, but I don't know. I keep thinking that I'll go back. So it's in Cincinnati, huh? I used to live out there. I used to live in Kentucky. So I would see lots of people I knew if I went out there. Oh man. So Carolyn, are you going? Oh, Lily asks, do you think it's possible to make a living off pottery? Yes, it is, but it is difficult, right? It's not easy. So if you're really thinking about it, first of all, I would talk to people that are actually making a living doing pottery, making maybe pots that you're already thinking that you like, or anyone actually making pottery, kind of talk to them because there's actually many different ways you can make a living doing pottery. I've always wanted to teach, so I always loved teaching, and I love making pots, so that's how I ended up teaching making pottery because I just love doing both. Right? It's kind of like a double passion for me, and I kind of like realized at one point that I really wanted to make. I love making pottery, it was the thing I love doing the best, and I also love teaching. So I think that being a teacher is a calling, but really being a potter is also a calling, right? You got to really love it, right? And there's a little bit of thing where a lot of just talk to the if you know anyone that's a potter making a living. Like I'm the wrong person to ask about making a living doing pottery because that's not actually how I make my living. I teach, so it is possible though, but I would recommend talking to someone who's actually making a living and they can actually talk to you about it because you're a one person show, right? You are the sole proprietor of a business basically, and you're in charge of kind of every aspect of the business, right? The making of the item, the marketing of the item. A lot of times you're the seller of the item, like if you're at shows and stuff, you're the primary contact for selling, right? You're in charge of all the advertising, right? You're in charge of the business of buying insurance for yourself and right and paying. How is that gonna work for yourself? But I think unlike other arts, like when you go to art festivals and fairs and places like that, there are tons of potters out there. And that's a good thing. Why am I saying that? That means there's people making a living out there, right? There are people that are making a living. I know a pottery friend of mine who works like crazy, right? But he is making a living. He's sending his kids through college and right, he has a properties and I think he's doing pretty good, but he's always working, right? He's always loading or unloading a kiln somewhere, right? So no kidding around. But if it's what you love to do, there is a way. So here I am touching this. So these pots I'm making will go to yes, I probably should go to Cincinnati. The other thing I've been really working on, I mean, I'd love to go to Cincinnati, but I've really started getting into doing some diversity and equity work with my college, right? Some DEI stuff, right? And really working to diversify my college a little bit, right? And I've decided that that's also something I should have been working on already, especially. So I've been really thinking about not going to NCECA and going to these other conferences that work on those things. I love NCECA though. Man, probably should go. Yeah, so here we go. Woohoo! So that's another handle-ish, right? I'm getting better. This is my second handle of the day. It's looking better, right? So we'll stamp it again. So this is, where's my chop? There's my chop, right? My chop, my mark. Right? And then I always push back with this hand when I stamp. We'll talk about what's going on here with that in a second here. So I'm going to stamp right there. There. So I always stamp it at the heel of the thing because I also have a stamp on the bottom, and I was putting a little stamp there for a little while, and I thought that looked really dorky. So the only blank spot that I could stamp it was on the handle. So I'm now stamping it on the handle. Right. So, all right. So then always right before I put it up, just all that smooshing and handling and putting this handle on always makes it a little bit lopsided. So then I always reuse the rounder again. Right, so. Oh, what do you tell a student? So there's a question in the chat, in the YouTube chat. What do you tell a student if they're frustrated about their pottery? Ooh, that's always a good question. You should always listen to yourself, right? About frustrated or not frustrated or happy or not happy. Um, that's always a hard question. That usually means maybe something's up, right? About it, it's a very difficult question to answer, actually, because there could be a lot of different reasons why you're frustrated. It could be an internal thing, right? If it's just within yourself, that like you're because of not of outside pressures or something, and you're frustrated, that is something you need to really listen to, right? As a creative person, because it's probably yourself telling you something, right? Not to do something or to do something. But if you are, it's from external pressures, right? There could be external pressures happening where someone's telling you something and then you're not, and it's maybe the wrong thing or something, then maybe you need to, um, right? You have to be careful about frustration. It's your body or yourself telling you something, right? That frustration. So you have to be careful and try to figure out what's going on, right? Because usually you as an artist, I think you have to learn how to trust your feelings, right? Because those are kind of what guides you and what guides the choices. So I'm making these cups, right? And part of it is because it's 1,000 little choices I've made along the way to help me decide what was the right cup to make, right? And so if I get frustrated, I figure out a different way to make it. There are other frustrations that you can have too, though, which can be external, where people are putting pressure on you or something. Um, right? So it's a hard call to make, and you have to think about where the frustration's coming from. A lot of times, it's maybe could be yourself, right? And it's because you're making the wrong thing sometimes, or something's up, right? And there there are tons of times when I'm shown a really awesome technique where, ooh, I really like this technique and I think this technique is incredible. But then I decide later that, and I make it and I'm trying it out. It's just not for me. That technique is not working. So, and it's all has a lot to do with timing because sometimes like this slab building cup thing, I've known for years how to slab build cups, right? 20 years. But I didn't really start doing this till a few years ago. And it's just I wasn't ready for it, right? So emotionally or whatever spot I was in, right? I always loved throwing on the wheel. So being frustrated, it's kind of like there's nothing more kind of emotional or hard to deal with than your feelings about your own work, right? It's so personal and it's so close to you. Trying to unpack how you feel about it is a very, very hard thing, right? There's all these issues that come out from doing this work, right? And you are your own worst critic, right? At least I am, right? I see things about these cups, even though I really like making them, right? I see things about them that I like and I don't like about them. At the same time, I know they could be better, and I don't know. I just really enjoy the making them though, so I'm really in the moment. I love every kind of part of this process. So I enjoy that part a lot. But frustration is hard. Like it is it frustration is hard to deal with. It could be that sometimes that someone is stuck in the same place for a long time, right? That can lead to frustration. It could be that the potter, everyone says that you should have a message or meaning in your pottery, and that could lead to frustration because a lot of us aren't taught that pottery is has meaning or has content, right? We're just I at least for me, I was always engaged in technique, and not as much as thinking about what the meaning of behind it was. Like for me, the making is really fun, and I always gravitate toward the making of the moment. I don't necessarily I never really felt like my pottery, at least at the beginning, had any sort of meaning or like this deep emotional content or something. But I think that it's slowly been getting there, right, over the years, that through and really embracing what I want, right, my work has slowly become something that I feel that has something more about me in it, I guess. All right, so I think these handles are a little bit more flexible. These are the ones I dipped a few minutes ago, so I think they're ready. Yeah, I'd like to come to Cincinnati. All right, so this one is just the same thing. Here we go again. I'm going to cut that off in a way that I think is really cool and that will work out. So frustration can be a lot of things, right? When I'm teaching my students, I really try to get them to think about what's positive and what has been changing in their work, right? So this is a really weird story, but one of my students who's been doing ceramics for a while, I teach at a community college, so a lot of my students are at different levels, right? And one of my students had an injury to her wrist, and she's a pretty good potter, right, already. But I saw that moment where she wouldn't be able to throw anymore as a great opportunity for her. I was super excited because she had an injured wrist, that it would force her to be a different kind of person, different sort of potter, right? And I felt that moment as a teacher, for me to work with her, would be the greatest time, because that through that time and through what she has to do there, she would become a different potter and she would have a lot of growth. So I was super excited, and then it's going to force her, I hope, to work on a slightly different style and develop as a person and as an artist. I see it as an opportunity for growth. I did the dipping thing again. I'm just looking to see where it's wet, right? And that's the area that I'll score here. If anybody has more questions. And just to tell you a little bit more about these handles, what happens, where did these handles come from? If you look here, these handles are extruded. I have like a oval die for my extruder, and it squirts out these kind of like 7-inch. It squirts out really long, and I cut them in the 7-inch lengths. And then what I do with them, let's see, this one should be better. So I have my own personal damp box here. Check it out. So this is a box full of handles ready to go. This is a piece of HardieBacker board. So these guys are all sitting in here. The HardieBacker board holds water, right? Absorbs water and then slowly releases them out. So these handles are I made these sometime over the summer, and see, they're still flexible, right? And so they're getting just a little bit dry because it was really hot over the summer in here, but these will be indefinitely good to go. So as long as I don't leave the lid off for too long. So same thing with these guys. These are from a long time ago. I guess I'm just using water for this because I don't know where my slip jar is. I had it somewhere. Where would I have put it? Give me a second looking for my slip jar. Where is my slip jar? Where did I put it? Is that it? No. That is not it. Okay, slip jar is completely missing. So I'm going to try to make a new batch of slip here. I tried to make it over here, and it didn't really work because of the table. Oh, this is already getting soft. Beautiful. Yes. So when I make my slip, what I do is I have a bigger jar of it. And let me go look over here. It's probably over here. found it. So when I make my slip, what I do is, look at that. I make a big Mondo load, and I always label it. This is a Christy Lombard slip, which is, I said, B-mix. And I actually make it, and this is big enough I can stick my immersion blender. And I put it in there, and it gets it all nice and smooth and happy. And then I got to remember what brush I was using for that. Let's use this brush here. So here I'm just going to bloop bloop. Ooh, this got a little hard too. Ooh, but it's still good. You see that? It's still pretty good, but it's a little bit stiff, but it'll be okay. Blah, 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 blah. And then ooh, I haven't scored that face yet. We'll score that face up. Are your mugs standard sizes? Yes, they are all standard sizes. So I have these boards here. So this guy here, oh God, this is a 16-ounce cup. These are all slab built, right? And this guy is already warped. Woo, look at that. I got to unwarp him. So this guy comes from this stamp. Nope. This stamp. I had it out earlier. Comes from a stamp like this, except you can see the tallness of it, right? Let me see if we can back that camera away so you guys can see it better. So here you can see a better view of my messy studio. So this guy here, I make these stamps out of wood using my laser cutter. There's stampy number 1. Where's the other stamp? I have all these different designs here. Let's just use that one for example. So this is one that makes the same size cup as this, right? So this cup, once it's fired, is about 16 ounces tall, right? Or 16, it holds about 16 ounces. So then I made another stamp that's exactly the same width, right? But 1 inch shorter. So that holds around 12 ounces really, right? So there, you see that? So that's the stamp for this cup here. Right, and I make them, so just to tell you, they're 11.2 inches this way. This is 4 inches tall total, and then these other stamps are 5 inches tall. Right, and then I have the exact same design here for this one, but I had it a few minutes ago, and I don't know what happened to it. So, but it's lots of fun. I have so much fun making these stamps here. Oh no, here it is. So here, so this is the stamp that made this guy here. See that? And so, and it's my wife who is like my best partner in this. She's the one that was saying that these bigger cups were a little bit too big, and she convinced me to start making these little guys, which are actually brand new. No one's actually really. My parents got the first set of these from me over the weekend for their anniversary gift for the short ones. All right, so this one looks okay. This one looks okay. I need a better place to put these down. Back over here, maybe. Give me a second here. Didn't prep a place for these things. Here we go, got one. There we go. All right, so since even just handling these a little bit, and since they always tend to, the handles when they're drying always pull back from here. You see how that's getting elongated in that way? So that's where I keep rounding these guys off to make sure they don't keep going crazy on me. And I'll bag these up later. Right, and so always I use the rounder a lot, like that, and then, right, this is the rounder to help, and then you see how much more round it is. It's not quite round all the way, but it's getting close, right, and that helps keep them round a little bit. This one too. Right. There we go, round it up. There we go. Looking good. Put that one there. All right. Yeah, so yes, there are standard sizes. And then let's get this side get slipped up here. Oh God, I really blobbed it on there, didn't I? So I really I really gobbed on a lot there. Look at that, that is a lot, but that's okay. What we'll do is I'll just squish out when I get it on here. There we go. There we go. Look, and so you can see it really blobbed out, but I'm going to leave that blobby outiness till after I get this part sorted out. So like I said here, right, before, that this is way too far out, right, and this is a lot of handle. So always make it so that there is too much handle, because it's much easier to work these if you have to cut them off a little bit like that. Whoop. That's still too much handle. So these shorter cups, so these handles are all made to go on the bigger cups. So these shorter cups need to have a lot of handle cut off. So I have to slice a lot off here usually. So then I always extrude these handles out to be about 6 or 7 inches. And that allows me to, so I don't have to, there, that's looking pretty good. So then I want to round this backside a little bit right here, because you'll see that it doesn't ever touch, because when I cut this off, it's very flat and straight here, bloop, right? And then this cup though is round. See, it's turning. So I'll take the heel of this tool here and just push it up, push that up and in a little bit. You see, just kind of roll that heel of that tool back and forth there. Maybe if you guys see it from the side a little bit. There we go. There. So now it should mesh down. If you look and see how it makes it just makes better contact there. So now I want to make sure everything's looking good here, up there, up here. So then for this, I just wet the backside. Well, since we got this here, since I have my slip brush out, let's put a little bit of extra water into my slip here, because this is looking pretty stiff. Ooh, pretty stiff. So mix that up really good. Ooh, for pottery people would love this part. Look at that. Ooh, so just get that going a little better, right? Most people wouldn't like that part, but I think you guys would like that. It's like, we love the goopy clay. Oh, see how it's starting to come around? And that will make that clay really happy, because I haven't had this jar open for over a month. So it's got a little bit stiff on me. Then we got some, ooh, yeah. Pick that guy up, blob some underneath there. Right. Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about my handles, how I make them here in a second. Let's see here. So, oh my goodness, I'm way off. All right, so how did I do this? I'm spending too much time talking to you guys, and you can see how this handle is actually turned a little bit in this direction. I don't know if you guys can see it, but you see, I think what happened is this top part slid that way. So that, I think all of that happened, remember, because of all the extra slip I put on there. When I was fooling around down here, it had a chance to slide. So I'm just going to put it down here and just oof it back a little. Oof. There we go. So I just took it and I slid it back. I'm also now, since it moved, I am going to take this thing here and I'm going to push it back in. So hold it. I'm going to push back from the inside to keep my cup from collapsing. And I'm going to push inward from the outside and wiggle this back and forth just a little bit. Like, pika, 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 pika. Let's see here if we can get that for you close up. Right, and I'll put that in there. So I'm going to hold this here and I jiggle it back and forth. Just a little bit to help marry it down a little better. Now it does mean that since I slid it around so much, look at how big mess I made there. Ugh. Right, but now at least it's more straight up and down. It would drive me bananas later if it was off, right? I wouldn't even glaze it. I would just throw it away. Or if I caught it later. So now I just gotta, there's so much slip there, I gotta clean all that slip off. So luckily this design is really big and wide, like really open, right? It has big designs where if I had made that mistake on this guy, right? You see how those little lines, those lines would get all filled in, right, from all that extra slip. But here I can get it, most of it off. So I guess it's a good thing that it happened on this one. Come around, come around, come around. Come around, come around, come around. So hopefully everybody's, so here in the States, I talked about this a second ago, it's a Thanksgiving. So I know that some of you guys are having Thanksgiving time. I think we're doing our Thanksgiving dinner very soon. So, but I wanted to say hi to everybody. Hi. So let's talk quickly about the handles. Let me put this guy, as soon as I get this guy done, right, let's talk quickly about how I'm making my handles. So, and I guess that's going to have to be another video, because I always think about, I'm going to record a video about how I'm making my handles, and I never get around to it for some reason. So there. Now these handles in some ways are good, right? And the thing that I don't like about them is there's really no, they're so just kind of generic that there's no really like, I don't know, but they feel good. There's no like as much personality, but I've never been all that good at handles. I am not a super awesome handle maker, and I see all these people doing all these crazy things and they pull it off the body. I just never have figured that out, right? And I tried, and it just the doing it, even the doing it doesn't feel right for me. So I'm just cleaning up the different like nicks and bumps on here. So that's good. So let's talk to you quickly about the handles. It's going to take me a second. I have to go get the handle making stuff. Let's see here. Where is it? Because this is totally, where is it? Okay. This guy here, this guy here. All right, so we always hear about people using like using caulking guns for making extruders. So this is like a caulking gun, except it's a jerky gun, and it's a jerky gun made by LEM, and it has a plastic body, and it works just like a caulking gun, right? That plunger pulls back. I didn't really clean this very well last time. Let's pull this back a little farther so you guys can see, right? Oh, so you see how that little plunger goes back and forth, right in there. This whole thing can come out really if you want it to. Just unscrew. So this, oh, right. So that's the tube. That's the plunger, right? This goes back and forth. So it's like a caulking gun, but I never could figure out how to make a caulking gun all the bits work, because you have to have a caulking gun and then they have to have a tube. I never could figure out the right tube to fit in a caulking gun. This LEM jerky gun already has a tube put in there. And this little gizmo, right, it comes with the end cap, right, that goes in there, and it has some shapes, but none of the shapes will work for what we're trying to do. And then once again, I created a little disc out of 1/8 plywood, and I cut the hole for my handle. So then this disc fits right in there like that. There'll be clay in there already, right? And then this little guy screws on top, right? And then you'll see that little disc would stay in there usually really good, because there'd be clay pushing back. And then I would just use this guy and force the clay out, right? And it's a little bit squeaky because it needs to apply a little bit of oil, and then it just squirts out these beautiful handles like that. It's lots of fun. And this little piece of thing is like $25, or at least it was just at the start of COVID. And it's a LEM, it's a jerky gun. I got the plastic barrel because it seemed to be working just fine. Right there. And it works. And I had another one, which was a pastry one, a pastry gun, and that didn't even make it that long. And then I make like 50 or 60 handles at a time. You see that right here? I make like a bunch of them. So there, you see that? And this is only like a quarter, and I have these old boxes, and I put a piece of hardy backer board inside, and that hardy backer board keeps them wet. So you can see that it's kind of wet. And these are starting to dry out. I made these probably 3 months ago. They're still pretty good. They're still ready to have stuff in. So I'm kind of lazy. I don't want to keep cleaning out the gun all the time. So it's a technique, and you can figure it out. Like, or you could use there is a way that you could use the caulking gun. So since this guy was out, right, it's a little bit stiff, so I'm going to dip it in there and then put it back into the box here. Put the box over here. So this box here has the other layer still on top. So what I do with here is, ooh, you can see it's getting kind of nasty. But this has been in here for quite a while, and that's a piece of paper that I spray down. And then just to keep the handles from sticking to each other, I have my extra handles in there, right? Probably, I think I could fit 12 per layer, so I can make 4 dozen at a time in these 2 boxes, and I label it there. Okie dokie, I think it's almost time for me to have some Thanksgiving dinner. It was great to see everybody. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you guys later.